$0. That's the number. Not low, not concerning, not something you're working on. Zero. You know it before you open the app. That's the part nobody talks about. The way your thumb slows down on the screen before it gets there. Like your body is running a quick calculation. Do I actually want to confirm this right now? Before letting your eyes see what your chest already knows. 3 seconds. 2, 1. You open it. $0. You're 30 years old. You have a job. You have a phone with a cracked screen you've been meaning to fix. You have a streaming subscription, maybe 2, and a gym membership that has become a monthly donation to a building you drive past. You have a life that from the outside looks like it's going somewhere, and you have nothing saved. You close the app, you put the phone face down on the table, and you do the thing that everyone at 30 with zero savings does in this moment. You don't tell anyone. Not because you're ashamed, you are, but that's not the only reason. It's because the zero doesn't feel like a problem you're working on. It feels like a verdict, like something has already been decided about you. And if you say the number out loud, it becomes permanent in a way it isn't yet, while it's still just living quietly in your chest at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night. So you don't say it. You pour a glass of water, you watch something, you think about the plan you'll start next month. This is the story of what happens when next month becomes right now. Part 1. How you got here. It wasn't one decision. It is never one decision. And that matters because the story you've been telling yourself, the one where there was a specific moment you made the wrong choice, that story is not accurate. And an inaccurate story about how you got here produces an inaccurate plan for getting out. Here's how you actually got here. The first job paid less than you expected. You covered rent, the student loan that hit at month 6, the car that was already old when you got it, and whatever was left covered the rest of life. There was no left. There was never a left. You told yourself you'd start saving when you made more. Then you made more. Not a lot more, but more. And what happened to the more is the part that requires honesty. The apartment got slightly better. The food got slightly better. The trips, the dinners, the things that felt like the reward for finally making more, those expanded quietly and completely to consume the more. And there was still no left. Then the car. Then the medical bill that the insurance covered most of, but not all of. Then the year that work was slow, or the relationship that ended and reorganized your financial life in ways you're still untangling. Then the emergency fund you were going to build that became the emergency fund you pulled from before it was ever fully built. You didn't blow it. You simply never actually started, and now you are 30, and the number is 0, and the silence around that number is louder than you expected. Here's the thing nobody tells you about the silence. The silence is not protection, it's a delay. And delays at 30 in the specific mathematics of compound interest are expensive in a way that delays at 22 are not. Because at 22, you have time to absorb the cost of not knowing. At 30, the invoice is already being written. The first rule, you did not fail to save because you are bad with money. You failed to save because nobody built the system for you. And a person without a system will always lose to the person who has one. Regardless of income, regardless of intention, regardless of how many times they tell themselves next month. Part 2, the Daniel problem. His name is Marcus. He sits across from you at the office. Has for 2 years. Quiet guy. Efficient. The kind of person you would describe as solid if someone asked, which they don't, because he doesn't generate the kind of stories people tell about colleagues at happy hour. Marcus drives a 2019 Honda Civic with a parking permit sticker that's been on the windshield so long the edges are lifting. He brings lunch most days, not always, but most days. You've had coffee with him maybe 8 times. The conversation is good. He never mentions money. Last Wednesday, Marcus mentioned without any particular drama that he had just crossed $180,000 in savings, combined across his 401k and a brokerage account he opened at 23. Just crossed, he said, like it was a traffic update, like it was a thing that happens. You nodded. You said something like, "That's incredible." He shrugged and said he'd just been doing the same thing for 8 years. Then the conversation moved on. You thought about it for 5 days. Marcus earns $64,000 a year. You know this because you came in at the same salary band 2 years ago. You earn slightly more now. You have $0. Marcus has $180,000. You do the math on a Sunday night. The math you've been rescheduling. Marcus invested approximately $900 a month across his accounts for 8 years. At the S&P 500's historical average return of roughly 10% annually, at 7% conservatively, that math tracks almost exactly to $180,000. $900 a month, 8 years, the boring fund, no timing, no strategy, no stock picks, no crypto, just the same thing, automatic, every month, for 8 years. You have been saving approximately $0 a month. Not because you couldn't save $900, because there was always something. The trip, the dinner, the jacket that was genuinely, provably on sale. The version of a financial life that, from the outside, looked like you were doing fine. Marcus's Civic is still in the parking lot. He is not doing fine. He is doing something categorically different from fine. He is building something that does not require him to be in the parking lot for it to keep growing. The second rule: the gap between you and Marcus is not income. The gap is not intelligence. The gap is not luck. The gap is 8 years of one automated decision made before desire could form an opinion about it. That's it. That's the entire gap. And it is, right now, still closable. Part 3. The exact math. Let's talk about real numbers, because you came here for the math, and the math is the only part of this that doesn't require motivation to work. You are 30, you want to retire at 65, you have 35 years. And here is what the Federal Reserve's own data on household savings and the historical performance of broad market index funds says those 35 years can produce. Depending on one variable, how much you start with. Scenario 1, $300 a month. $300 a month is $10 a day. It is one coffee and one lunch. It is the streaming subscriptions you actually use. At a conservative 7% average annual return. The figure Vanguard uses in its long-term retirement projections based on historical S&P 500 performance, $300 a month invested from age 30 to age 65 produces approximately $490,000. $490,000 from $300 a month, starting right now. Scenario 2, $500 a month. $500 a month is $16.67 a day. It is the gym membership plus the streaming, plus one dinner out per week removed from the budget. At 7% average annual return, $500 a month for 35 years produces approximately $817,000. $817,000 from $500 a month, starting right now. Scenario 3, $750 a month, $750 a month. The number that feels impossible until you look at what you actually spent last month and realize it is not impossible, it is just unorganized. At 7% average annual return, $750 a month for 35 years produces approximately $1,200,000. $1.2 million from $750 a month, starting right now at 30 with zero. According to Fidelity's 2024 retirement analysis, a person who saves consistently from 30 to 65 at a 15% savings rate on a median income can reach retirement security even starting from zero. The Social Security Administration reports the average monthly benefit in 2023 was $1,800. That is a floor, not a plan. Your investment account is what you build above it. The math does not care about the years you didn't start. The math only cares about when you start and whether you stop. The third rule, compound interest is not complicated. It is simply time applied to money. And the single most important thing you can do with this information tonight is not to understand it. It is to automate it before you sleep, before next month, before you have time to reconsider. Part 4, the system nobody built for you. There are two kinds of houses. In the first house, money was weather. It happened to you. Some months were fine. Some months your parents got quiet and practical and everyone adjusted without saying why. Nobody handed you a map. Nobody sat you down at 15 and explained that compound interest is the most powerful force available to an ordinary earner, or that the 401k your first employer offered was a 100% return on your money before any market growth occurred, or that the difference between starting at 22 and starting at 30 is not 8 years. It is, depending on your contribution amount, somewhere between $200,000 and $600,000 by retirement. Those conversations didn't happen, not because anyone failed you intentionally, because nobody had them with your parents either. In the second house, there was a different conversation happening, a different table. A 15-year-old being told that assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take it out, that the goal is not to earn more, it's to eventually stop trading time for money entirely. That the tax advantage account is not a bonus for organized people. It is the single most accessible wealth building tool the government offers to ordinary earners, and almost nobody uses it correctly. That 15-year-old grew up with a map. You grew up with instincts, good ones, hard-earned ones. But instincts and a map are not the same thing in the dark. Here's what the map says at 30 with $0. Step 1. Open a high-yield savings account. Move $1,000 into it this week. Not because $1,000 saves you in a real emergency, because the absence of any buffer is what turns small problems into catastrophic ones. And catastrophic problems are what drain the investment accounts that don't exist yet. Step 2. If your employer offers a 401k with a match, contribute at minimum whatever captures the full match. A 50% employer match on your contribution is a 50% return on your money before the market does anything. Vanguard's behavioral research shows this is the single highest return available to ordinary earners. Not capturing it is not neutral. It is a loss. Step 3. Open a Roth IRA. The 2024 contribution limit is $7,000 annually. Contributions go in after tax. Growth comes out tax-free. For a 30-year-old with 35 years of runway, the tax-free compounding in a Roth IRA is worth, depending on your tax bracket at retirement, between $80,000 and $200,000 more than the equivalent amount in a taxable account. Step 4. Automate everything. Not plan to automate. Automate. Tonight. The money leaves before you see it. Before the spending decisions form, before desire has time to make an argument. Vanguard's own data on automatic enrollment shows that automation increases savings rates by an average of 40% over manual contribution systems. You are not going to out-willpower the way your brain processes money. You don't need to. You need to set up a system that doesn't require willpower. Step 5. Index fund. 1. The total market. Boring. Diversified, low cost. Fidelity's FZROX has a 0% expense ratio. Vanguard's VTI charges 0.03%. The difference between a 0.03% expense ratio and a 1% actively managed fund on a $500,000 portfolio over 35 years is approximately $180,000. The fund that costs nothing beats the fund that costs something on average 80% of the time over 20-year periods, according to S&P's Aspiva report. That is the system. 5 steps. No strategy, no timing, no stock picks, no watching the market. Just the same automated boring transfer every month into the most unremarkable fund in existence for 35 years. Marcus didn't find a secret. He found the system, and then he protected it. The 4th rule, a system beats intention every single time. Not because intention is weak, because intention requires a decision every month. A system requires a decision once, and once is something you can do tonight. Part 5. The real cost of waiting. 1 more year. That's what you'll tell yourself. 1 more year to get the finances stable. 1 more year until the raise comes through. 1 more year until things settle down and the timing is better and starting feels less like an admission that the previous years didn't go the way you planned. Here is what 1 more year costs. At $500 a month and 7% average annual return, 1 year of waiting at age 30 costs you approximately $8,700 by the time you're 65. Not $500 times 12, $8,700. Because the year you wait is not just the contributions you miss, it is the 35 years of compounding those contributions would have produced. 1 year, $8,700, 2 years, $17,000, 5 years. Waiting until 35 instead of starting at 30 at $500 a month and 7% return costs you approximately $200,000 by retirement. According to the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College's National Retirement Risk Index, the single most common reason late starters don't recover is not that they start too late. It is that they start late and then pause. They get the account open, they run it for 8 months. Something happens. They pause. They don't restart for another year. By 45, the account exists but has never compounded long enough to build momentum. The pausing is what kills the math, not the starting point. The 5th rule. The cost of waiting is not the money you don't put in. It is the time that money doesn't get to work. Time is the one thing in compound interest that cannot be recovered. Not by earning more. Not by contributing more later. Not by picking better. You cannot buy back the year you waited. You can only decide that this is the last year you wait. Part 6. The turn. You are still 30. The phone is still face down on the table. Pick it up. Not the banking app. A different one. The brokerage, the one you've downloaded and deleted twice because opening it felt like a commitment you weren't ready to make. Download it again. Open an account. Fund it with whatever is embarrassingly small. $50, $100. Whatever number makes you feel slightly foolish. That number does not matter. The account matters. The automated transfer you set up tonight for the first of every month matters. The index fund you put it in matters. The number does not matter. The starting matters. The automation matters. The not stopping matters. Marcus's $180,000 started as a $900 automatic transfer that felt too small to mean anything. The $490,000, the $817,000, the $1,200,000 in the scenarios above, every single one of them starts as a number that feels too small to mean anything. They all start as an amount so small that the only reason it matters is that it starts. You are 30 years old. You have, in good health, potentially 50 more years of life. You have 35 years before standard retirement age. You have tonight, which is the only variable in the entire equation that is completely, unconditionally in your control. The zero is not a verdict. The zero is a starting line that has been waiting for you to show up. You just showed up. The account is open. The transfer is automated. The fund is set. The system is running. And somewhere across town, Marcus's Civic is in the parking lot of a restaurant he goes to sometimes on Fridays. The sticker on the windshield is still lifting at the edges. He is not thinking about his $180,000 tonight. He has not thought about it since Wednesday. That is the point. That is the entire point. The best financial decision you ever make is the one that eventually requires no decision at all. The one that runs in the background of your actual life while you're busy living it. The one that grows at night while you sleep. In markets you do not fully understand, toward a number that does not exist yet, but is already being built. $0. That's where it starts tonight. That's where it always starts. Pick up the phone.